Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar Talking TIM September 2022. My name is Nilu Parvinashtiani and I'll be helping with facilitating today's webinar. This webinar is sponsored by the Federal Highway Administration and is hosted by the National Operations Center of Excellence, also known as NOCO. So just a quick reminder, if you don't know NOCO already, we offer resources for the transportation system management and operations community. So on your screen right now, on the right side, there is a pod called Useful Links box where from there you can browse through the links for TSM&O resources, news, case studies, and also previous webinar recordings. Below that is the download pod where you have access to the PDF of today's presentation. We'll show this pod here now and then again we'll come back to it at the end during Q&A. So just a few logistics for the webinar. We are recording the webinar and that recording along with the presentation slides will be available through the on-demand learning section of the NOCO website. All the attendee phones are on listen-only mode by default, but please stay engaged by using that question discussion pod just like you're doing now for any comments or questions that are coming to your mind. At the end of the session, we have dedicated time for Q&A, and the moderator will read your questions out loud and will pose it at the panel. So that's all with the logistics, and with that, I'll hand it over to Paul Jodoin to start us off. Paul.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Happy September 23rd. And I just figured out that I've been working from home in COVID world for 6 months. So whoever thought it would be all still in COVID 6 months later, but here we are. But we are proceeding accordingly. Jim and I are very excited to have some announcements for you this afternoon. And with that, I'll get started with today's speakers. We're gonna hear from Andrea Eales from the American Public Works Association, and she's been a member of the executive leadership group for some time. Jim and I were going to talk about Next Generation TIM, which is basically the second announcement we're going to have today. So we're excited to share that with you. Next Generation TIM is going to include some arterial TIM aspects to it, and so that's why we're honored to have Jennifer Toth, who's Executive Director of the Maricopa County DOT. She's also, we have Executive Director there twice. That's why they shouldn't let me do PowerPoint slides. And then we have Nicole Forest from the Fort Lauderdale Area TIM Program, which is in large part an arterial program. So that's the lineup for today. For next month, also exciting, we're going to have for the Meet the ELG from the National Volunteer Fire Council. We're going to have Sarah Lee give us an update on the National Volunteer Fire Council and what they do, and she I guess has actually been the longest serving executive leadership group member, so we're excited to have her. We're going to talk about protecting the queue using crowdsourced data or using Waze data. So Brian I've seen this presentation before. It's very exciting. North Carolina is going to join us. I think this might be the first time we're having North Carolina. So they'll be on next month talking about some cool things that they're doing, including their new training track and newsletter. And then Michael Peck from the CAT Lab, the Maryland University of Maryland CAT Lab, has some TIM stuff to share. But right now, Jim and I want to share with you our first announcement. We brought onto our team in July a new team member. His name is Joseph Tebo. And with that, I'm going to let Joe introduce himself. So, Joe, we take it from here.
Absolutely, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, morning, evening to y'all. It's an honor to be here. Joe Tebo, as Paul said, came over from the Federal Transit Administration where I served as the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator and also as a surface and rail accident investigator. I've been with DC Fire and EMS prior to that as their Transportation Safety Officer, Maryland Department of Transportation as the State Safety Oversight Officer for rail operations. Spent 30 years with Baltimore Gas and Electric as the Director of Emergency Management, Emergency Response, and I have over 40 years service in volunteer fire department here in Baltimore County, Maryland. As the sitting here staring at that slide of myself, yeah, and I also own my own fire truck, right? I'm one of those guys, right? I like to preserve the antique fire engines there. So my background in transportation and emergency management, emergency response goes back quite a few years. I hope to be able to benefit the group and the project moving forward with whatever input and service I can provide. That's about the story on me. I'm here if you need me. I'll be working with Jim and Paul, and it's just an honor to be here, and I look forward to the relationship. Back to you, I guess, Paul.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, Joe will be working on some activities yet to be determined. We're trying to catch him up to speed, but he'll be participating in most of our activities for now, and we're taking leadership on some. The first project he's going to be taking leadership on is a research project that is going to evolve into more, hopefully, a training component with the rural TIM project that we have slated for to kick off this fall. Yep. So he's got passion. He's got his own fire truck in the yard. So he's on board. And Joe has been sharing some very cool pictures. He's in a very active area of the Baltimore County, and so Joe is the real deal with boots on the ground because he's got the pictures to show us. So Jim's also going to go over this at the end with you, but we just want to remind you at the end to give us some feedback. We have been listening to your feedback so far. I'm not going to read the slide to you, but just know that we hear you, and we're going to do our best to accommodate you as best we can. We can't always accommodate you or the recommendations, but we are looking at that, and your feedback is important to us. At the end, we'll also show you this link, but it's also in the chat pod, and we'd certainly we'd appreciate any input that you're able to provide. And it's only 1 minute and 27 seconds that you need to share with us your feedback. So with that, I would hand it off to my partner in crime, Mr. Jim Ostrich.
Thanks, Paul. And Joe, I just wanted to say one of the things that Joe told us during the interview process is that he bled or bleeds fire. And, he's a true firefighter through and through, as you see, a fire engine to boot. So, and God knows we're so lucky to have Joe with us because we have a ton of work ahead of us. We've been sharing with you guys and other in other circles too, all the work that we have coming down the pike. So it's great to have Joe, and we're so excited, and so should all of you because it's projects related to everything near and dear to all of us. So anyway, just a quick update on the training. Here's the cover page as always. I would be lying if I didn't say that I'm a little sad, disappointed that we haven't hit the 500,000 mark yet. Please don't get mad at me. I know the in-person trainings paused, but I was really hoping and still do that the web-based training numbers would be much greater than they are. But we'll take what we get, but I just wanted to say that to you, and Paul and I and Joe challenge you, ask you, please, to push the web-based training through the National Highway Institute and or respondersafety.com. Please, we need to get to this 500,000 mark. It's driving us insane. And more importantly, Monday we had our 16th tower. Very sad to report, in Georgia, get struck and die. We're now at a total of 36. These are the numbers, and we're fast approaching last year's record number of 44. So anyway, keep all our fellow responders in your thoughts and prayers as well. So be safe out there and make sure you're constantly conveying the message. The other one map, or actually two maps that I'll show, this is the total again with the web-based training numbers for each state below the in-person number above. Here's the SIP map showing the percentage, and there's over 20, I believe it's 21, 22 states now that have hit the 45% trained or above. So seriously, I know things are very difficult, budgets are tight and so on and so forth, but we need to push this training even during this pandemic. I know and we all know what's going on nationally, and of course we're in an election year. However, we can do better, and we need to get our responders trained. So we'll talk a little bit more about that during the NextGen TIM discussion. Next is the upcoming National Traffic Incident Response Awareness Week. These two flyers should be finally approved, hopefully by the end of this week, if not next week. And then you will be welcome to use them, excuse me, distribute them, disseminate them as you please. And very important, our next call, I believe, is October 3rd. Forgive me if I got that wrong. But anyway, our next all states planning call with Chuck York, and again, Adam Hops with the NOCO, as is Nilu today with us, hosting us, helping us here. Lastly, our contact info. So back to you, Paul.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I want to challenge everybody. Come on, let's get to that 500,000. Each and every one of you, I think, has participated in the National Traffic Incident Management Responder Training Program. Let's get to 500. Let's get to 500 next month. By this time next month when we talk, it's actually going to be a few days later. But come on, we can do this. We can get to 500,000. It's driving Jim crazy, and when he drives him crazy, drives me crazy. So let's get to it. Come on. So with that, our next speaker is going to be Andrea Eales, who is from American Public Works Association. She's Executive Director of Government and Public Affairs and a long-standing member for our executive leadership group. And you'll see in a minute here, when Jim and I introduced Next Generation TIM, how we're trying to drill down to the local communities, and that includes, of course, public works. Sometimes we forget about public works and their role with us on the arterial roads in particular. So we thought she would be a good person to introduce her organization and her role and why they feel it's important as well. So with that, Andrea, please take it away.
Thank you, Paul, and good day, everyone. Hope you're all doing well, and I appreciate your time here this afternoon. As Paul said, my name is Andrea Eales, and I'm the Director of Government and Public Affairs for the American Public Works Association. Let me first tell you a little bit. Hold on one second. I'm trying to move the slides forward, and Nilu, they are not moving for me despite clicking the arrow.
Andrea, we do see the move. It might be your network speed that it takes a while for it to show.
No.
So we're on the second
there
slide.
We go.
About APWA.
Okay, about APWA, you're all seeing that slide now.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so as I was saying, and hopefully there'll be some synchronization here, a little bit about APWA, which became part of the ELG for TIM in 2015. We have over 30,000 members in both the United States and Canada, and our membership is those public works professionals representing all aspects of public works, so transportation, water, emergency management and response, fleet, solid waste, etc. Anything and everything public works APWA represents, which makes us unique amongst national associations which tend to focus on one issue or the other, you know, like only water or only transportation. We have 63 chapters across both countries, of which our memberships form a great grassroots network and engagement opportunity for us at every level, local, state, and federal. We have 2 offices. Our headquarters are located in Kansas City, Missouri, and then the Government Affairs Office located in Washington, D.C. is the office which I lead and focuses on all of our government affairs efforts, both U.S. and Canadian. So we do have a presence in Ottawa as well, but not an office per se. Our efforts on the federal level focus very much on empowering our membership to advocate. As you'll see in a minute when I talk about our organization's strategic plan, being that voice for public works, both to policymakers, to the public, to the media, etc., is our goal as an association. Each year, we review our public policy priorities, and in the U.S., we align those with the congressional cycle. So every 2 years, our Government Affairs Committee, who I and my team primarily work with, focus on what it is we want to be advocating to Congress for, to federal agencies, and to the White House. We tend to fall into the lanes primarily of transportation, water resiliency, and emergency management and response. That being said, we also do have technical committees which work on education and best practice efforts, focusing on the other areas that I mentioned earlier, such as fleet and solid waste. So here is the strategic plan for 2020-2023, which I was mentioning to you just a moment ago about what our goals are. Promoting the value of public works and enhancing the visibility and awareness of public works. Being that voice for our membership in all public works to government leaders, the public, and the media. Obviously, education and credentialing is a huge aspect of APWA and the primary reason that we exist, to make sure that our members have access to those resources, credential opportunities to keep their professional credentials where they need to be. A lot of training. We do TIM trainings at our major conferences, which include the North American Snow Conference held in the spring of each year, and also our Public Works Expo conference, typically held in the fall. Obviously, with COVID-19, like all other associations, we have had to go virtual. We currently have a PWX at Home series going every single month. We have ongoing sessions, training, credentialing, advocacy outreach, committee meetings, etc. And if you're interested, certainly go to our apwa.net website, and you'll see a link to all PWX at Home activities. And access to some of these events, many of these events, including our advocacy jams, are free. So please be sure to check them out or reach out to me if you have questions. And then, of course, finally, our membership in chapters. We would not exist but for our 30,000 plus members and the 63 chapters which help us represent them and work with them to improve the public works profession. Specifically related to transportation and TIM, I just wanted to take a moment of your time to show our surface transportation reauthorization priorities. As most of you know, I'm sure, we're looking at an extension of the current surface transportation law, the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act. 1-year extension into next year, passed the House yesterday and is headed to the Senate. APWA has been actively advocating for a new reauthorization bill, but of course, as Jim mentioned a little while ago, we're in an election year and not a lot is getting done at the moment. So we're going to have to deal with a 1-year extension, which is better than the month-to-month or week-to-week extensions we were dealing with a few years ago. Our priorities for reauthorization are funding, streamlining, and safety, as is noted here. And I should say all our priority documents are available at the apwa.net website as well. One thing I'd like to specifically call to your attention for today's call is how we show strong support and urge Congress to show strong support for traffic incident management initiatives, as well as move-over laws and other safety priorities that are so important to all first responders that are working on the ground day to day to keep the traveling public safe. Next, as Paul alluded to and had specifically asked me to talk a little bit about, is how to engage at the local level. So we tell our members all the time when we do in-person trainings or virtual trainings or at our conferences, et cetera, in the past and hopefully moving forward as well, is that we have to keep in mind that policymakers at all levels have very limited exposure. We think they have access to all these resources, but they become a jack of all trades and a master of none. So it's our job as the technical experts and public works members, I tell them all the time, you are the expert at what you do. Make sure you're talking to your city council members. Make sure you're talking to your state legislatures. Make sure you're reaching out to your members of Congress, responding to regulatory comments, and getting engaged with groups like the ELG for traffic incident management. That leads into working so well with coalitions and partners at the local level. Municipal leagues, county organizations, state organizations, DOTs, et cetera. All of us are such an important part in this advocacy conversation and making sure, as we're educating lawmakers, that they have access to accurate, true information that will help them draft better policy and better regulations, which will in turn keep our members and our public safer. Our communities depend on strong advocacy. It increases professional value. And as I just mentioned, it certainly leads to better policy and practices. We always are encouraging and are so ourselves at APWA, utilizing all social media. Share your stories, use association newsletters or organization newsletters, share policies, write op-eds, tweet at policymakers, pictures, things happening on the ground, incidents that slow down traffic, certainly. Educating the public any and every way you can is so essential to telling the TIM message as well as other safe messages in transportation that we need to be getting across. Accurate statistics and data. Jim and Paul are so excellent at providing us with the statistics seen just a few moments ago. That information goes so far because it's accurate, on the ground, and painting a picture for lawmakers. And I urge you always to respond to action alerts that are in your lane and associations that you're a part of. When they ask you to reach out to your members of Congress, do it, because if they don't hear from us, that 2 minutes it takes to shoot an email or make a phone call could be a difference. And if they don't hear from us, they won't know how to create better policy. Finally, these are a couple of the resources that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Our Twitter handles, APWA Tweets, APWA Gov Affairs, through LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And I look forward to taking questions at the appropriate time. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you, Andrea. Really appreciate it. So if there's any questions during the whole webinar, you can put them in the chat pod, or we hope to have time at the end. We've been running out of time lately, probably because I talk too much, but we are welcoming questions in the chat pod and are wait till the end. And if we can't get to your questions verbally, you can always reach out to Jim and I anytime. And now Joe. Send all emails to Joe, as a matter of fact. So with that, Nilo, you're going to swap us out. So Jim and I are very excited to announce our Next Generation Everyday Counts initiative, Next Generation Traffic Incident Management. So we are we've been working very hard to get here, and we're going to tell you what EDC is over the next 15 minutes or so, and what NextGen TIM, what we're trying to accomplish with that. And I'll hand it over to Jim in a minute after I share some thoughts with you, but overall what it means is that it's a priority within Federal Highway. NextGen TIM was offered up and in competitive with dozens of other Everyday Counts initiatives. It was picked one of 7 Everyday Counts 6. The other initiatives are like, innovations and construction and safety and different programs. So we're very honored and thrilled to be part of the Everyday Counts program. But more importantly, it offers us some extra funding for all of us to move forward. Now, that doesn't mean we have unlimited funding and we can't send you any checks, but it can help us. It helps us with funding to advance some of the things we're going to talk about right this minute. So what is Everyday Counts? It's a federal highway program to do one or all of the following: shorten project delivery time, enhance roadway safety, reduce traffic congestion, and integrate automation. So if you think about a traffic incident, in traffic incident management, we basically try to do all 4 of those things, right? So we fit perfectly into the Everyday Counts program. And this is the 6th time, by the way, that they've had this program. So because being part of the Everyday Counts program, there's an opportunity to get funding. So every state has a STIC committee, a State Transportation Innovation Committee, and they get a small amount of money. It's only $100,000 a year, but if you need a small amount of money, ask in the fall because the money goes quickly. But if you need 25 or 50,000 or even the whole 100,000, make it appeal to your STIC program manager for those monies. The other programs that are listed here, there are other opportunities for grants and that are a little bit more complicated, and if you have an innovative idea that's related to the programs, the TIM programs, and Jim and I will be happy to work with you to figure out if it's appropriate or not. So what is Next Generation TIM? What is the menu? So what we're trying to do is bring TIM to the next level, right? We've made a lot of progress. We've done really well in a lot of categories, but there are opportunities here to get better. And one of those items is we need to enhance collaboration, and that is reaching out to the local level, do a better job at reaching out and supporting and including people at the local and regional level, and that's a big focus. We want to expand more into that area. Technology, we know there's technologies that is just a no-brainer. Some of the stuff where UAS, for example, for crash reconstruction, it's significant changes, significant. We know integrated CAD is a best practice that we at this point in time we should be doing more and more of that. So crowdsourcing and other TIM data. We've talked to you about TIM data before. Crowdsourcing. We're hearing the crowdsourcing data in some TMCs are hearing about an incident 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes earlier than they hear it from the 911 center. So we need to do a better job at the responder training. There's new initiatives relative to the responder training we'll be talking about. And again, an emphasis on arterial focus is this time around. That's why we're having those speakers today. We're also considering other technologies. We haven't determined which ones we can support. We're not going to support every single technology that's out there. We're going to select maybe from this list, maybe from others. We want to be able to show progress, and we want to be able to indicate that that we provide support. We want to have the technical expertise to be able to advance these initiatives, the various technologies. And we also need to measure. So we have to be careful what we're supporting through the Everyday Counts program. They're very strict with us. But we also think there's some room for some more technologies, 1 or 2 technologies in addition to the CAD and UAS. There's also some other opportunities there that we think may help the responder on scene improve safety and mitigation. So CAD-TMC integration, we know that there's benefits for, and when we say we know because others have experienced this. This isn't things that Jim and I made up. This is what we've heard from others. So the quicker response and travel information, getting that police information at the TMC also provides better data for improving operations. You can do better performance management, performance measurement when you do that. It helps law enforcement by reducing their workload. It also can help improve scene safety. We hope to be able to make this business case to the law enforcement. We know sometimes that's an obstacle on moving things back and forth, and there's a public benefit, right? The faster we do things and the more efficient we are with all the responders, the public benefits. Some examples of integrated CAD, the success stories. Maricopa County has 90% of the arterial organizations on there within the county. The fire is included, which is very unusual. Usually it's law enforcement in TMC. Oregon DOT, 30% reduction in incident clearance time by having that integrated CAD with the state police. Maryland DOT has seen a 30% reduction in incident clearance time. And Minnesota has had CAD for 15 years, integrated CAD for 15 years with the state patrol, and they have sworn by it and made advancements over the years. UAS for crash reconstruction, we've heard just significant stories. UAS has a lot of opportunities. Many jurisdictions and agencies are now using UAS for a number of different purposes, but and one of those is crash reconstruction, where there's only a little bit of hard data, but Washington Patrol, for example, 80% reduction in road closure time in economic savings of over $4 million. 80% reduction for those crash scenes that require the reconstruction, crash reconstruction, crash investigation. The Sheriff's County in Tippecanoe, in Indiana, 60% reduction in scene investigation time using UAS. This is in Illinois State Police. So these are just some of the locations where we've heard that have hard data. Other locations, oh yeah, it's about maybe it only takes us 30 minutes compared to 4 hours and things like that. So we hear anecdotal information all the time as well. So again, this is a significant opportunity to move forward. The crowdsourcing, getting the TMC to use crowdsourcing and be more sophisticated using crowdsourcing, there are significant opportunities where there's no ITS equipment. You're able to detect incidents quicker and faster where you may not have a camera or hardware. And also the crowdsourcing is allowing getting that information to the responders quicker in many locations, what we're hearing. So we want to work with folks. Some examples, Tennessee, can identify the back of queue a minute faster on average. A minute is important when you're talking about a queue, right? Iowa DOT is first aware of incidents 24% of the time through Waze. And Virginia has found that Waze has detected, the Waze citizens platform detects crashes 38% of the time faster than they hear about it otherwise. So, we don't endorse Waze, and we don't endorse any one particular manufacturer, and we have a slide to that later. But that's just the opportunities. Jim, you take it from here, okay?
Thanks, Paul. Great job, and love seeing the comments in the chat pod there from Todd and Angela. As Paul's talking, kind of making the case right there in unison. So, again, to piggyback on Paul's, comments, the benefits here. All of you, I think all of you, it's fair to say, and it's, by the way, it's wonderful to see 185 folks on the call today sharing, because as we move forward with EDC6 and this NextGen TIM, we need you, and you're probably going to be, part of the team indirectly, some of you directly, but just stay tuned because we're going to need you. The two examples that you see here, I won't read you the bullets, but Maryland SHA chart through their dashboard, they represent the data that they received through an initiative with their safety service patrols for predictive analysis, if you will, or for incident prediction. And then VDOT also along the I-81 corridor because of the major delays that that occur regularly in that corridor, a heavy traffic interstate there. But the overall message here is we know, even Paul's comments, with UAS and CAD integration, everything that's happening, although some of it may not be new, it's the technologies that we're promoting and want to help states get more engaged in, for sure. Again, data analysis, collection and analysis, makes the case for TIM. Utah doubled their incident management team from 12 to 24. Georgia reduced clearance times by 82%. Arizona, you may have heard us say this before, but saved 25 full-time employee, positions just by the increase, increasing obligated patrol times by 3%. It's amazing what can be done, and you as leaders, champions, are the key. Benefits of the TIM training, you've already heard Paul mention this, and obviously very near and dear to Joe and Paul and myself. All the benefits that have been coming because of training our first responders nationally at a state level, but now a huge focus for the locals and the rurals. We're trying to reach out and deepen our bench and offer support to the regional and local agencies through a variety of different mechanisms. But you all hold the key and can, make a huge impact here by your influence and your collaboration with your communities within your state's jurisdictions. And of course, you heard us mention earlier, me and Paul, all of us, we need to ramp up. It would be awesome if we could reach that 500,000 by in 7 weeks. How about that? In 7 weeks by National Traffic Incident Response Awareness Week. That would be really cool. So web-based training all the way. Next, again, institutionalization through developing or working with legislators, your local state communities, to develop these laws, rules, policies, all these kinds of things. The institutionalization of training at academies like you see down here below, Paul, myself, and Joe, working very hard. This 150 plus academies are through over 43 states, different academies, whether it's police, fire, EMS, are now training new recruits with the TIM 4-hour training. So many thousands more, you've heard me say in the past, academies, throughout the United States when you combine all 50 states, D.C., and Puerto Rico. But there, it's something you can use your sphere of influence. You've heard us say this before. The business case, again, doing more with less. There are agencies out there, obviously, with many priorities, but TIM doesn't change. This next generation TIM initiative that we're all embarking on now, it's our time to really take all the technologies Paul's mentioned and everything else that we built upon, including the training, and take it to the next level, continuing to protect our responders, our motoring public. We all go home, right? And as we said, the benefits to the economy, regional, national, are really undeniable. The reliability of our roadways, et cetera. What support can you expect from us? By choosing this innovation, state, regional, local agencies will receive training materials, for example, invitation to attend topical webinars. As I said, you're a part of the team. Participate in peer exchanges. The Federal Highway Division offices that Paul and I work with in every state, DC and Puerto Rico, we're pushing to have them engage more with you at the state and local and regional level. We're also doing, of course, virtual or in some cases on-site technical assistance where possible, and we're going to encourage states. Hopefully, Paul and I and Joe, we want all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico, to select the innovation, this innovation, NextGen TIM. But you can help us. When you hear about it, promote it, because you're a believer and you know it saves lives and makes our way of life better for all. Next is, how can you participate? How can you help? Well, as Paul already talked to the stick, about the stick for funding purposes, up to $100,000, states will, they can adopt. Express to your state stick that the NextGen TIM is an innovation worth adopting. Push, push, push. It's up to us, because we believe and we know that everything about TIM really matters. Our leaders, right? We always say the buy-in may be lacking. Of course, an election year, there's going to be changes in leadership, but hopefully, all of us are making a difference and selling TIM all the time, because we know that it makes a difference, and primarily it saves lives. And so with that, this is our disclaimer. As Paul said, we don't endorse any products, etc., but we share what we know to be cutting edge. Thank you, and back to you, Paul.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just wanted to comment on a couple of things. There's some cool activities. If you're not paying attention to the chat pod, pay attention to the speakers first and then the chat pod second. But, Arizona is doing a virtual training initiative. Angela, our good friend Angela Roper Barnett, is participating with some others out there in Arizona. They held a big event last year during the Traffic Incident Response Awareness Week, but I like that, Jim. Let's make the national goal to get to 500,000 by the second week of November. I think that's fantastic, and but I think we can do. We can push everybody. Everyone on this call has influence. You all know you do. So let's all get some sort of virtual training going here, so we can get those numbers. And don't forget to give us your numbers. The other thing I wanted to mention this afternoon, our administrator is having a national webinar with senior executives from all over the country to talk about NextGen. Every day counts 6. So, of course, I'm going to be mentioning our initiative as well. But the way it works, so she'll be explaining it to the executives in November. There's going to be virtual summits. We'll let you know about the virtual summits. That will talk all about the initiatives, and then there will be breakout sessions. So after the summits occur, then the states go back and they decide which of the 7. Some select 1 or 2, some select all 7. Which initiatives they want to participate in. So that's what we would like you to encourage. The state programs. The STIC programs to adopt the NextGen TIM as one of the Everyday Count 6 initiatives, because it helps us. We should be able to help accommodate many requests for support for advancing these programs, but it helps us a little bit more when the state signs up. So with that, we're going to our next speaker, who I am extremely honored to introduce, Jennifer Toth, who's been a friend of ours in the TIM program throughout the country for a number of years. But she's, as you see, she's a director and county engineer for Maricopa County, and a very senior person in transportation. So we're very honored to have Jennifer participate with us today and tell us about the Maricopa County program. And that's where I'll stop talking, because I shouldn't be talking at this point. Thanks, Jennifer. Take it off.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the introduction. And do want to let you know that you've already got commitment from Arizona, at least in terms of this EDC initiative. I think I got not roped into, but I did open my mouth and volunteered to lead the initiative in Arizona. So you definitely have one state taking on that initiative, and I know there'll be lots of help with Angela, with Jeff King, and others who I see that are on the webinar today. So really thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for the opportunity to present today and speak to a subject that's really near and dear to my heart. As you mentioned, been involved with the TIM initiative and the executive leadership team since it initiated. So I'd like to take a couple of moments to kind of set the stage so that you understand why and how Maricopa County developed our Regional Emergency Action Coordinating Team, or as we call it, REACT. And then I'll talk also about our TIM Coalition and what will be going on there. So a little bit about Maricopa County. Maricopa County encompasses more than 9,000 square miles. The county is actually more populous than 23 states and is geographically larger than 5 states. So that kind of gives you some context of our magnitude. We have about nearly 4.5 million residents throughout 24 cities and towns, and so that gives you just a little background information. Maricopa County and the Phoenix metropolitan area was built upon a traditional grid plan with the local freeway system circulating around the area, going through the area, as well as we do have a loop system in place. Motorists and commuters depend heavily upon these arterial roads to get them to where they need to go, especially if there's an incident on our freeways or special events taking place in the valley. So actually, 60% of Maricopa County's traffic volume is on the arterial network. Or another way to look at it is through the lens of lane miles, and the arterial lane mile share is 74%. The transportation officials in the Phoenix metro region have historically been very forward-thinking. We've had a partnership in place nearly 25 years. It's a group of transportation engineers that came together with a vision to develop a seamless transportation system in the Phoenix Valley, built upon collaboration, and the basis of it was the intelligent transportation systems. And that's where you see here, AZTech is that partnership. With the helm of a grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation's ITS Model Deployment Initiative, the group brought together multiple jurisdictions, as you see here, and private sector partners to form that AZTech regional partnership. And its success is really built on mutual trust and relationships strong enough to advance the vision of a seamless transportation system and succeed in creating a network of shared data and ITS resources. As you mentioned, the CAD system, that's something that AZTech really pushed forward and is very successful here. Over the past 25 years, many AZTech initiatives have been envisioned, developed, and deployed, and one of those is McDOT's REACT program. So with such high traffic volumes on the arterial network here, it became apparent that there was a need to provide that traffic incident management support on those roads. So in 1999, with that recognition, McDOT, in collaboration with AZTech partners, modeled the REACT program after the Arizona Department of Transportation's successful ALERT program, or as it's now known, their Incident Response Unit program. So over the last 20 years, we've continued to build upon the original model and adapt its operations to meet the ever-changing needs of traffic and incident management on our arterial network. REACT's core purpose is to minimize the impact of incidents on mobility and safety, very core to the TIM initiative, and by assisting local agencies within Maricopa County with the traffic management for incidents that are occurring on our arterial roads. So in addition to serving Maricopa County, REACT also provides traffic incident and event management services to 6 other local jurisdictions. And we also have a strong partnership with ADOT and respond to mutual aid requests as needed. The REACT program actually started with 9 members and 6 vehicles to provide on-call emergency traffic management, and it only started with 2 jurisdictions. As I mentioned earlier, it now operates 24/7 and serves 6 other jurisdictions along with Maricopa County. The REACT units are dispatched by local law enforcement. They're typically dispatched to scenes where first responders anticipate a closure lasting more than 2 hours. And once on site, REACT members will establish and maintain emergency traffic management and provide that incident management, traffic control, signed detours when necessary, and ongoing traveler information. REACT also provides special event support to some of the Valley's largest attractions, such as when we host bowl games or simply when our residents head out to our lakes and rivers to beat the summer heat. You'd be surprised how much traffic that generates in very specific areas. So over the course of a year, REACT averages roughly 175 call-outs, with 52% of those calls taking place on Maricopa County roads and the remainder on the other 6 jurisdictions' roadways. This slide, I know it's rather busy, but it does show you the REACT response by month over the past 3 years. What's interesting that we saw on the slide this past May and June, we saw a record number of React responses, even though because of COVID, our traffic volumes were lower than normal. So we've seen an increase in the severity of crashes causing longer closures. And in addition, Arizona has had an increase in response to wildfires. And so that has had our crews out there doing traffic control and incident response to the roadways that are near to those fires. So REACT also works to assist with the region's integrated corridor management plans. The need for that collaboration was confirmed in 2012 when an incident that occurred on Loop 101 in Scottsdale closed the freeway from approximately 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. on a Friday morning. So as a result of the closure, the freeway traffic was diverted onto the arterial street networks in the vicinity of the incident, and it caused a lot of havoc, and I don't think we were prepared at all, the different jurisdictions that the traffic diverted to. So ADOT, McDOT, Scottsdale, and the Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian communities then, after the incident, worked together to create an integrated corridor management plan and implemented a pilot project using a combination of ITS and traffic incident management resources to ensure that future incidents on Loop 101 would provide motorists with a clear path around the incident, and we're able to deploy those on a regular basis as incidents occur on the freeways. So that planning effort actually led to the Loop 101 Mobility Partnership Project, and that project is being partially funded through a $6 million grant from FHWA through the ATCMTD grant opportunity. And the goal of this partnership is to develop technology that will help drivers in the Loop 101 corridor area to get where they're going more efficiently, on time, and while providing safety. REACT is going to be engaged in this and provide alternate route guidance to travelers when the ICM strategies are implemented. So they'll deploy portable dynamic message signs and assist motorists to detour on those planned alternate routes. In addition, REACT also supports our connected vehicle program. This is one that I really enjoyed talking about. We're one of 4 partners in the Arizona Connected Vehicle Program, which has been studying, developing, testing, and deploying connected vehicle technology for more than 10 years. The first application we tested was based on the concept of vehicle prioritization as a way to improve safety for emergency responders, such as fire and police. So in Arizona, there's a vehicle collision every 4 minutes, and every 3 days, one of those collisions involves a fire department vehicle or ambulance. And so that's why we began to develop the Smart Drive program technology that you see here. The connected vehicle technology gives the emergency vehicles priority at intersections in a way that prevents them from colliding with one another. And DOT's REACT crews have been on the front line with our engineers, providing first responder expertise and helping to develop and test the technology along with the Daisy Mountain Fire Department. We're very proud of that partnership with the fire department up there. So I'll switch gears from our REACT program to talk about TIM in Arizona. I talked about our AZTech partnership earlier, and in 2010, FHWA, MAG, and the AZTech partners held an advanced traffic incident management workshop, and shortly thereafter established the TIM Coalition through AZTech. The TIM Coalition is the traffic incident management partnership whose purpose is really to share ideas, lessons learned, best practices, and knowledge in order to foster that regional incident management. The TIM Coalition is led by the Arizona Department of Public Safety in partnership with all the different AZTech partners, all the different jurisdictions, and everybody that you saw previously. It's dedicated to collaborating for safer and more efficient management of incidents that occur on or significantly impact the region's roadways. Participants in the TIM Coalition include state and local law enforcement, the fire agencies, state and local transportation agencies, metropolitan planning offices, and obviously the towing companies in the Phoenix metropolitan region. The coalition is committed to meeting the objectives of the National Traffic Incident Management Coalition's the National Unified Goal of Responder Safety, Safe, Quick Clearance, and Prompt, Reliable, Interoperable Communications. And to talk about the training goal, one of the key initiatives of the TIM Coalition is to promote and provide that TIM training to responders with the ultimate goal of having all responders trained. Courses are taught regularly. As Angela noted, we're excited about training virtually as well. And currently more than 7,000 responders in Arizona have gone through the TIM training. So we're really excited about continuing that and continuing that on the Arterial network. Another major initiative of the TIM Coalition was to improve data collection and reporting on TIM performance measures. Having those TIM performance measures allows us to demonstrate the impacts of TIM policy changes. It really helps to the best practices, especially in reducing secondary crashes and struck by incidents. So it's something that we are extremely supportive of. We worked with DPS and Arizona's Governor Office of Highway Safety, ADOT, and the Traffic Records Coordinating Committee to really update that crash form and implement that in the 2014 timeframe. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity to share with you information regarding McDOT's REACT team, the Arizona TIM Coalition, and how we're working together with our partners to keep both the public and our responders safe. Thank you very much.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Thank you. This is Jim Ostrich. Thank you very much. I think Paul may have mentioned he had to jump off to go to that other EDC 6 session. But I want to thank you, Jennifer, for your always continuing leadership. As Paul mentioned, you have just been so important to the traffic incident management in our nation, and just all the hard work that you continue to do in Arizona and everywhere else. So thank you very much for that presentation.
Very welcome.
Next. Yes, thank you. Next up is our friend from Florida, and actually from the Fort Lauderdale area. She's TIM program, Nicole Forest. She's from the District 4 and also the District 4 TSM&O Resource Manager and Traffic Operations Lead. She's going to highlight the practice of TIM in their region. So with that, Nicole.
Hey, Jim. Thank you very much for the introduction, and good afternoon to everyone here. I'm very excited to give this presentation to everyone. Ms. Jennifer is going to be a very tough act to follow. That was an excellent presentation, and I'm glad to see it. The REACT program was one of the programs that we actually did an FHWA peer-to-peer exchange with back in early 2018 to gain an understanding of how they do their arterial TIM and kind of model our program off of that. So that was it was excellent. So as Jim said, I'm Nicole Forest with FDOT District 4, Southeast Florida region area. We have 5 counties that we cover. And we have the Severe Incident Response Vehicle Program that we started back in 2005 for the interstate that we cover. And so we kind of looked at that and modeled an arterial program that we started in July of 2019. So the areas that we cover for our SERV program is all of our interstates in Broward County, Palm Beach County, Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River counties, which we refer to as the northern 3 counties in our district. The SERV program responds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to severe traffic incidents, and that would include full highway closures, fatalities, overturned commercial vehicles, and any other lane blocking events that would likely last more than 2 hours. And back, like I said, in July of 2019, we started the arterial response just in our Broward County. It's one of our busiest counties that we have out of the 5. And so we coordinated some response to clear incidents that impede the lanes for the arterial system. What the SERV on the arterials does is they provide maintenance of traffic to law enforcement, to towing agencies, and to fire rescues, spill mitigation, as well as small roadway repairs. And that is just to help expedite the other agencies that might not be able to come out on these roadways. The Severe Incident Response SERV staff, they coordinate with the Traffic Management Center. That is how they're dispatched, and that's how they relay information. And our TMC relays that information to our Public Service Access Points, the PSAPs, which we have 3 located in Broward County that we work with for the 3 areas that we respond to for arterial response. So for the arterial response criteria, the lane blocking events that we would respond to are oil spills of 25 gallons or more. If it's a sufficient scale that requires deployment of more MOT than what is already available. This differs a bit from how we operate on the freeway. On the freeway, we have other agencies and contractors that are responsible for those MOTs, but we don't have that really on the arterial systems here. It's usually just law enforcement and fire rescue that use what they have on board. So we as DOT saw that need to help them out, and we stepped in and created this program to help, largely because of the MOT need that was needed. Any minor repairs to asphalt surface that just is cleaning up oil spills or small gouges that might be detrimental to bike peds or to motorcyclists that use the roadways. If we have a closure that's lasting 30 minutes or more on the arterials, we know that's a little bit more of a heartache on the arterials than on freeways because the roadways are usually a bit smaller. So we have criteria 30 minutes or more for that. Any fuel spills or hazardous materials that could be close to waterways. We do a lot of coordination with our DEP here in Florida for incidents both on freeways and arterials. And then any event that if a DOT or TMC or someone sees that they might be able to assist because the resources are needed, we will then dispatch them accordingly. One unique thing that we have about our SERV program for Florida is the operators are retired law enforcement officers or fire rescue workers or someone equivalent with some kind of traffic incident management experience. We carefully select that. We require that in contract language for the department side, and the one reason that we have seen this be so successful is 2 options. We saw that there was a need. A lot of our fire rescue officers and law enforcement officers are retired because they come with the knowledge, the experience, and certifications required to put the TIM practices into play. And because the SERV program interfaces a lot with multiple agencies and we practice the incident command system, we thought that the need to have retired law enforcement or fire rescue officer was important. They understand that. They know how to talk to the other agencies. So that is a big thing that has been very beneficial to us. The training, we have additional training requirements that we give these operators. We give some additional command procedures, the NIMS training and advanced MOT. We certify them in advanced MOT certification. Incident quick clearance procedures, emergency vehicle operations, CPR and first aid, and hazmat awareness, as well as the SHARP 2. The SHARP 2 is a requirement also written in a lot of our our contracts for Z4, our SERV contract, our Road Ranger Service Patrol contract, and as well as our RISC contract, which is a heavy-duty towing rapid incident scene clearance program that we use, so we can get a lot more of our towing partners, our fire rescue partners, everybody trained and to be on the same page. So this is a picture of one of the vehicles. These are the markings that we have, and it has a very good presence. We have an aero board on the top, and this carries all the equipment that is required for the scope of work that they do. So some of the specs, so spill mitigation equipment that they carry are spill pads, containment tools, and clay absorbent. We have flares, both electronic and regular, roadway repair supplies, emergency warning signs, high-intensity lighting, brooms and shovels, about 100 traffic cones per truck. Here's the back of the truck and the sides of what it carries. The back, we have the chevron striping, and the aero board is up in this one. So it holds a lot of equipment that it goes above and beyond, you know, Road Ranger Service Patrol or some other agencies that we don't have to call out. And this is just a couple I have a few pictures of what they do. So here's a scene with spill mitigation. On-scene responsibilities that they do MOT. They make sure their first responsibility is maintain a safe work zone. So a lot of our calls, we will have 2 serve operators for the freeway respond, and the first guy on scene is the one that's supposed to be the one to create the safe zone for everyone, and the second person will do everything else on the scene. The one thing I want to point out on this picture is we also took the initiative last year during the National Incident Response Week to create these stickers that we put on that say hashtag move over, Florida law, and then we also put the mud flaps that say slow down, move over, it's the law. So we are very big with the SERV program and Road Ranger Service Patrol program here to showcase that. And so being on the arterials, we get to a lot more people. The interaction on scene, we interact with Florida Highway Patrol as well as a lot of local police agencies, local fire and EMS, road rangers, not as much on the arterials, but on the interstate, tow companies, Department of Environmental, Highway Maintenance, and then the general public. And then we have special events that we also use for our arterial SERV program for, most recently COVID-19 testing sites, Feeding South Florida food drive. We've done quite a few presidential motorcades when we've had POTUS come. Last year we had a very large event that he came, and we had a few interstates that we had to work with. We also worked with some of our other districts and partnering agencies like Florida's Turnpike. And our sporting events as well. We also provide that for arterials. We get a lot of big sporting events here in Southeast Florida, so it is important to manage the traffic because it can become very, very unmanageable. And with that, I will turn it back over to Jim, unless I see a few questions in the chat box. I'm not sure if we've got some time to answer them.
Yeah, great job, Nicole. One of them, I believe, John McClellan, asking the salary range for your SERV operators. Are you able to share that?
Yeah, I mean, I can share with what we've had the SERV program for about 15 years, and the standard has always been starting at like $25 an hour. It just varies and depends on the vendor too, because what our intent with this program was, the reason I had talked about retired law enforcement and fire rescue is because it was just a job for coordination for those individuals who weren't quite ready to retire but didn't want to have the full stress job of what our law enforcement and our fire rescue partners do, which is a lot. So that's how we had started out the program.
Okay, very good. I see some others typing, and we do have a few minutes left. Please, any other questions? If anyone wants to speak up, I'm sure Nilu can open the phone line. Correct, Nilu?
Sure. So if people, if they want to talk, they can do *# to unmute if they'd like to.
Okay, *# to unmute. There was a question here. Do the vehicles have a siren, I guess? Lights and siren, or just siren? Is that from Charles Tapp? Nicole?
Yes.
For you?
Yes. So our vehicles do have the amber lights and white sirens around the sides and fronts of the box, and there's red working lights in the rear for nighttime visibility. So we do not do the red lights and siren for the Code 3 while we have our operators, certified and are able to do that. That's just not something that the Florida Department of Transportation is we're not in that responder, so to speak. We're not. Our intent was not to be the first on scene. That's what law enforcement and fire rescue is there. However, with that being said, our duty is to try and be there as quickly as possible because we want to try to mitigate the hazards and open the lanes as fast as possible. But we want to do it safely. And we want to do it quickly and as efficiently as possible. So we put as many lights as we can, and we do not have the siren for the same reasons that I noted. And we do have the ability, though, and our Road Ranger Service Patrol as well is also recognized as emergency responders here so that we're allowed to ride the shoulders at about 15 miles per hour safely to be able to get to the scene. And we do that when we're very, very close to the scene, within feet of it. It's not something we do the whole way. We don't ride miles, the shoulders on the for miles, because again, we want to be safe with that.
Yes. And how about controlling the lights from front to rear, or, do they have the ability to control? I'm sure they dim automatically as well, but one of the issues in the fire service, it's fairly commonplace, is the ability to control lights front or rear, depending to reduce, the rubbernecking.
Yes, that was a big thing, and we do a lot of training here in Florida for all of our contractors for visibility, and they do have multiple ways in the truck to be able to dim the lights, do different patterns, and then cater it to how the angle of the truck is. If the rear of the truck can't always be visible to the back, then they adjust it accordingly. So they have many buttons that I've seen on their control pad inside the vehicle, and also they take into consideration how they respond when they respond, who is there. They don't want to block road rangers from their error boards. They don't want their error boards to be blocked. So we have a strategic training on how they are to use the lights and even the error board for when they arrive on scene to manage the event. And then, of course, as time goes on, they are trained along with the MOT to adjust accordingly so that the scene doesn't get stale and then we have issues.
Very good. And by the way, I love the mud flaps. Hashtag move over, slow down, I think she said. I thought that was really, really cool. Okay, what other questions we have here? By the way, I'm pretty sure everyone saw that last year we didn't have any safety service patrols, ERTs, however you refer to them in your programs, struck and killed, but this year we have 3. So very dangerous out there, and our service patrollers are incredible men and women, providing an incredible service to our people. John McClellan again. Let's see. Are the serve operators contractors or state employees? And Road Ranger is a combination of contractors and state employees. For you, Nicole.
Our Road Ranger Service Patrol program and the SERV program are contractors. We do not have state employees.
And where did the mud flaps come from, or where'd you get them?
our awesome vendor who has our current serve program actually had those made up. It was just something in a casual conversation that we had mentioned, and they just went ahead and made it happen. So it's very near and dear to their heart as well for first responder safety.
Very cool. And I did not mean to pass over Joanne Blyton, who is the president of the Tow and Recovery Association, comments congratulating Andrea Eales, who was with us earlier from APWA, the 0 fatalities, and both TRAA, APWA are big members of the executive leadership group and leaders and huge advocates for TIM. And then the question that Joanne would like to know is the funding source for your SERV program or your service patrol vehicles for Nicole.
So our funding source for the SERV program, we use what we call D funds or DDR funds, and it's just basically state funds for FDOT, district dedicated funds. And so it's programmed out. It was a new project about 15 years ago that got proposed, and DOT had accepted it. And so we found a funding source for it in our district, and that is how it's been funded since. And so that is how we pay for the SERV program. And so specifically with the SERV vehicles is we have a formula that I work with my procurement on to be able to come up with basically an Exhibit C on this is what we will pay, this is what, this is included for the rate, this is what the budget is, and then, when we put it out for bid, that's how the vendors will come back and say, what they would propose to do the project for. So there is cost estimates, project manager cost analysis, things like that we have to provide, but basically the main point is that the funding comes from the district.
Okay, very good. Kurt Tendro and others, I believe, are asking if you can share the contact for the vendor, the mudflaps vendor.
Absolutely. I wrote his email down, so I will definitely put him in touch with them.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
So Kurt's thanking, and so we have about 8 minutes. The presenters today were phenomenal. Paul's, the team, done a great job. We continue on October with the intent of giving you some time back today, unless there's other, questions we'll answer for sure. But October 28th is our next Talking TIM webinar, and we're going to have great presenters as well. I wanted to say that I misspoke earlier when I said that the next National Traffic Incident Response Awareness Week All States Planning Call was October 3rd. It's actually October 1st. And then the last one, November 5th. Wonderful to see so many of you on today's call. As I said, Paul and I really appreciate. Continue to share, disseminate the Talking TIM webinar information, for others to join. Help us improve Talking TIM. Nilu posted the URL for taking, the survey, if you will. Ask, a few questions. It only takes a minute, a little over, a minute and a half. Thank you, Nilu. It's important because, as Paul said, we need your feedback, and we are trying to listen to you as much as we can, and most importantly, like I said, all of us have a skin in the game here. We have a vested interest in traffic incident management, good practices, everything you do, from influencing academies and your state to participate more in web-based training and all the things that we talk about during these conversations. Let's see. There you go. Thank you, Neely. I see Chief Letney from Apex, North Carolina, chimed in there. Didn't have a mic, but John Letney is a previous and always member of the executive leadership group. And you heard a lot, and you will continue to hear more about traffic incident management at the local level, the arterials. Do your best to embrace and to bring those folks into the traffic incident management world of innovations, and not just the training, everything we're talking about here today, whether it's UAS or CAD. And we have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen, and we're all in this together. As I say, rely on you. I see Cindy Martineau there, Executive Director of TRAA as well. And so with that, 4 minutes left, on behalf of Federal Highway, Paul, Jodoin, Joe Tebo, myself, and Nilu, thank you very much all. Stay safe and keep doing great things. Thanks again to all our presenters.